international friend. Your next act is coming on stage. He's absolutely fantastic. Give him loads of love. He'll give you loads of laughter. He's honestly astonishing. Roll Campbell!
Candles are a nice touch. I don't know whether to tell jokes or run a bath right now, but very relaxing. If there's anyone in from Sunderland or Middlesbrough. Yeah, well, the candles are not for cooking up heroin on, fuckface. I know you've had a bit of sunny weather this week, and in this country that practically constitutes a barbecue. Most depressing thing I've ever seen in my life. The British barbecue, or what we Australians call an aluminium foil tray on the ground. Nothing more depressing to me than a bunch of grown men standing around looking at something that is smaller than the fucking meat they're trying to cook on it. Look, it ain't a barbecue if it can be knocked over by a tennis ball, guys. I've come to accept there are some positives about the British barbecue. You can pick one up last minute next to the chewing gum in the supermarket queue. And they're very easy to pick up and run with when it starts raining. And they float. Nothing funnier than a fucking floating lamb chop, I'll tell you that right now. It's awesome. We kind of take a lot of pride in our barbecues in Australia. It's like we seek council planning permission for them. They're made with bricks and mortar. There's blueprints. We park our cars in the bottom of them. There's a wing in our barbecues in which our grandparents live when they get old. Saves a fortune on cremation, and it adds flavour to the meat. So. Yeah, man. So it's always a pleasure to come to Newcastle. I've been here a fair few times. Pretty crazy town on the weekends, has to be said. I like a town that lives up to its crazy reputation. This is the only place in the world I've ever seen somebody glass themselves. Saw a fight here one night in the big market, obviously, which actually isn't that big. Is that what 2 Gs mean? If it's big with 2 Gs, is that some Geordie thing for small? Because it's really not big. It's pretty fucking small. But it's big on fuckwits after midnight. And these two fuckwits were having like an alpha male standoff. Fuckwit 1, he was wearing the fashion choice of the fuckwit. He had a shirt that was like 5 sizes too small for him that said cocaine and caviar. And looking at the guy going, yeah, I've got a pretty good idea that guy does know his way around a bag of nose candy. I've got a funny feeling he could not discuss the finer points of Sturgeon Row with Anthony Bourdain. Oh, it's a bit of a niche gap. No foodies in tonight. But this guy's in the big market, he's arcing up, and this other guy's going, "What you aim on, you thinking about fucking glassing us, pal? Yeah, we'll fucking check, mate." Smashed a glass on his own head. Which wasn't even the funniest bit. The funniest bit was when he looked around at everyone like he was some kind of tactical genius. Just like standing there in utter disbelief outside of Munchies. Looking at this guy, there's blood pissing out of his head. I'm thinking, fuck, that guy really misunderstood the concept of the preemptive strike. Because in Australia, we hit the other guy first. Oh man, whenever I walk through the big market on a weekend, I'm reminded of the 1980s movie Footloose. Some of you might be too young to remember that, but there's a very famous line in it by Kevin Bacon. He says, "There's a time to laugh, there's a time to dance, there's a time to cry." Whenever I'm in the big market, I'm like, holy shit, Geordie women think you're meant to do all three of those things at the same time. Like, but they actually add eating chips into the mix as well. Julie gave the Geordie accent a go there. I've been in the UK for a while. I can do a few different accents. I can even do Middlesbrough actually. But I need to do that thing that Julie did. I need to get into the zone for Middlesbrough. It's like I need to do the cough thing. Nailed it. Fucking like a local, bro. I can run for UKIP. Those dumb fucks who vote for me. Oh, fuck, you guys probably did as well, I don't know. I got to vote in Brexit. And it was a very tough choice for me because I'm an immigrant and a racist, so... Very confusing. I did actually vote to leave. Don't judge me if you're a Remain voter. I didn't really read up on the issues. I read an article in the Daily Mail that said they were going to pay for foreigners to go home. And I was like, finally a way out of this shithole. Oh, wow. So I've actually been living in the UK now for about 12 years. That's the kind of warm reception I've come to expect in post-Brexit Britain. You're not too bad, mate, no. We're beautiful, lovely. I like living in the UK. I think Britain is the greatest fucking country in the world to be an alcoholic. It's like, seriously, this is alcoholic power. It's paradise here. Give us a cheer if you've been to Australia. Now that's a shit place to be an alcoholic. Because like bar staff in Australia, they're on some kind of retainer they take great joy in telling you can't have another drink in Australia. And it's only after about 4. They look at you and go, sorry mate, I can't serve you. You appear to be intoxicated. And you go, well no shit mate. I don't know if you saw the 3 shelves of hard liquor behind you, but it's a bit of a clue as to why they built this establishment. Funnily enough, I didn't come here to read a book, you fuckhead. And then a big angry Kiwi comes in and throws you out of a window. That's basically... I don't even know who throws people out of pubs in New Zealand, because like all the Kiwis who are in Australia throwing people out of pubs. It's fucking insane. Oh yeah. That's a thing over here that people go, don't offend you mate, I don't offend you, an Aussie or a Kiwi. And Australians do not get offended by being mistaken for New Zealanders. They hate us, we don't give a fuck. That's pretty much how it works. And I actually love New Zealand, it's probably my favourite part of Australia. And What I always explain to people is, there's serious rivalries in this part of the world that usually relate to like invasions and wars and bloodshed, and we don't have that relationship with New Zealand. We're both colonial outposts on the other side of the world, and we fought wars together as a a fairly highly regarded military regiment called the Anzacs. Yes, we did soak up a lot of lead for you fuckers. After all, the Irish were dead. We ran out of Irish? Fuck, get some Anzacs. Okay, a bit too close to me. But we fought wars together, mainly for you guys, sometimes for the Americans. Fucking ask me why the hell that happened. We had conscription for Vietnam, which I think is a travesty. It's outrageous that young men were called up to fight in a war that was proven to be a complete waste of time. My uncle got called up to Vietnam, and he actually he got shot in Vietnam, admittedly by a Kiwi, but shot him 4 times in the back before they'd even left the base. Is this a rugby place? You'd follow rugby here? Alright, holy fuck. You can really kick off when you ask if people are into rugby in some parts of this country, but so that's a relief. I'm not huge into rugby, but you've got to respect the Kiwis when it comes to rugby. The All Blacks are awesome. I do think it's unfair they get to do that haka shit though, and I've noticed that British teams get a lot more psyched out than the Australian team, because we're used to that. When they're doing that like Polynesian war dance, we just yawn and scratch our balls. And whereas I've watched the English team just quavering in their boots, this is what the England rugby team needs to do when the Kiwis are doing the haka. Like in the middle of that kumate, kumate, the England rugby team should just bend down, pull on red coats, pick up muskets, and shoot them all down. That will totally psych them out. And it will be like a historical reenactment as well, so yeah. Are you the Irish guys? Oh, it's nice of you to dob her in, that was cool. Handy at a comedy show, wouldn't want to live next to you in Nazi Germany. But, she's hiding in the attic. She's in a cupboard leg. Writing a bestseller. She's never going to get to read. Well, congratulations on being able to kill your babies now. That's pretty great news. Never would have picked Ireland as being progressive, but they were holy shit, it's almost like you're leading the way now. You were the first country in the world to vote for marriage equality and had a referendum and everything, which I was a little bit disappointed about, given Ireland's rebellious history. Thought it would have been more fitting for the Irish to form a paramilitary organisation called the IRG. Just pulling on sequin balaclavas and pink camo gear, setting off confetti bombs in TK Maxx, sniper shooting people with rainbow coloured paintballs. We are IRG. Fuck, I've dated Irish women, they're pretty much blokes anyway. Basically, every Irish man is already gay. I mean, Irish women are pretty tough though, right? Yeah. They've got balls, quite often labelled in jars on the mantelpiece. Sean laughed at me haircut. Cian criticised me driving. Paul expressed sympathies for the loyalist cause in the north. You can get pretty fucked up in Ireland too, right, with drink. They don't give a fuck there either. That's what I like about this part of the world. Like, there seems to be a general rule in this part of the world that if you can muster the energy to drag yourself on all fours to the bar and lay one finger on the bar, like, that proves you're still in the game. You get another drink. Great. I've partied in this town, man. On a Friday night in Newcastle, you can make your way to the bar and pull of your own vomit. By the way, hey man, that's pure fucking canny use of vomit there, lad. Here's a fucking jug on the house. Come back on the slick of a Mackham's blood and we'll give you Jaeger bombs, you prick. Awesome. You are more sensible when it comes to drink driving in this part of the world, though. And I don't know if it's sensible. It's just like you're more compact. The population density is greater. You all live within crawling distance of a pub. Australia is very spread out, so people take the risk more. Like, it took me years to realise the term designated driver means something totally different in Britain to Australia. Those of you who've been to Australia, you might know this. In Britain, designated driver, that's the person who's willing to stay sober all night, drive their buddies home. In Australia, the designated driver is the dude who's willing to go to jail. Like, in Australia, that's the guy who already lost his licence. Everyone's like, you drive, Trevor, you've already lost your licence. Well, you've got nothing to lose, man. Trevor would be like, the last time you said that, I ended up in jail, fuck's sake. And you're like, you said you like jail, Trevor. 3 square meals a day, free gym membership, and a break from the missus and kids, Trev. That's what you said. Trev will be like, the missus is doing my fucking head. Oh, I've been living in, I actually live up the road, man. I've been living in Scotland the last 12 years. Yeah, it's alright. I like living in Scotland, actually. It's the only country in the world I've ever been considered to be tanned and athletic, so that helps. It's funny though, because my Aussie mates, they're under the impression, you know, because they're always like, bro, how do you live in Scotland, mate? How do you put up with the cold weather? And I'm always like, dude, it really ain't the cold that makes the 11 months of the Scottish winter unbearable. And I think you guys are north enough to appreciate this. Definitely it's the wind that make, like, and I was in Melbourne and my buddy was like, bro, why are you walking down the street like this? And I was like, fuck, because I forgot you can walk upright in other countries at this time of year. Because you learn to walk like that in Scotland in the winter time. You carve your way through the wind. Like, this hand is here as a defensive measure to catch like flying sandwich shop signs and roofing tiles and junkies' babies. No good for your grip, heroin, I'll tell you. This isn't even my beard, as a matter of fact. I was just walking down the street in Glasgow in March. Next thing, fucking bang, I've got another bloke's face. So when you look, it's like, I'm always astounded how often I'll open a newspaper in Scotland and it says that it's blowing 100 miles an hour somewhere in that country, and I'm like, fuck, like anywhere else in the world, this would be like front page, they'd be rolling news, they'd be giving that shit a name. You know, they don't name wind in Scotland. That happens so often there. They couldn't name. They run out of names. Well, they obviously can't run out of names, but they'd eventually get to a non-white one. Okay, big room full of white people, uncomfortable with the truth. I didn't make the rules, but I don't know if you've noticed, there's not a lot of diversity in hurricane names. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, every hurricane sounds like it was raised in a fucking trailer park in Florida. It's got names like Charlie and Barney and Katrina and Sandy, and you actually had one in the south of England last year called Brian. At which point I was like, they're not even trying. I'm like, Brian? I feel like someone brought their personal problems to work that day. Some hungover, heartbroken meteorologist showing up at the disaster naming brunch. Like, I've got the perfect name for something that'll take your house and destroy your life in the blink of an eye. Fucking Brian! All right, Katrina, calm down, darling. We'll put the name in a hat with the other ones, yeah? Oh, man. Oh, they don't name their fucking wings in Scotland. When it's blowing 100 miles an hour in Scotland, you'll turn the news on, there's the BBC weather guy, usually standing at a 90-degree angle, just trying to get upright. You'll just see a castle blow past in the background. They're standing there, it's blowing 100 miles an hour out there today. It's a bad day to hang out the washing. Ha 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 ha. That's what they call hurricanes in Scotland. Bad day to hang out the washing. A lot of people don't know this, but 50% of all of Scottish people's underwear at some point ends up on a Norwegian's face. Yes, it is the leading cause of accidents among cyclists in Norway. They're over there in Norway, riding along on their bicycles, doing what Norwegians do best, which is act incredibly smug. Now we're so great, we're from Norway. We're the happiest, healthiest, wealthiest country in the world for the 43rd year in a row. We pay 78% tax, but we're all so happy. We're living, breathing proof that social democracy is superior to free market capitalism. We never even joined the EU, but we reaped all the benefits without having a massively divisive referendum that tore our nation apart. We're everything Scotland could have been if they hadn't given all their oil money to their colonial overlords. And just when they hit peak smug, a big set of knickers blows in over the North Sea, covers their face, and they plunge off a cliff into a fjord and die. So, very satisfying if you ever get to witness it firsthand. Particularly the look between peak smug and peak dead. That's a real Schadenfreude orgasm. So, just came here to raise awareness to things I care about, really. Lack of diversity in hurricane names, Scottish windborne underwear deaths among Scandinavian cyclists. You guys have been terrific. You got an awesome headliner. I've been Campbell. Thank you.
Hey friends, how good was that? Make some noise for Campbell! Hey, it's your last chance to fill in your little cards. You use this to do a roll-up cigarette wood buddy. Fill these in, put them in the little cowboy hat at the end of the bar, and you could win a brilliant prize.